This is how we exploited neuroscience to make a company named Clive an extra 420K in about 90 days or so. So this here is Elijah and Matthew Kim, two brothers that own Clive Systems. They do a lot of sales, so they talk to a lot of prospects behind the phone for the majority of the day in order to generate sales for their company. In the beginning, the reason that they started working with us was because they wanted to optimize their mental performance, productivity, and focus in order to take their business to the next level. Their business was generating 15 to 20K a month when they first came to us, and they were already sort of doing different things to improve their energy, their focus, their productivity, and just be more dialed in when working. But like most entrepreneurs and sales professionals and executives and people that usually want to improve their performance and just do the things that they can do to perform better every day and have a lot of energy, they were basing off their habits and routines and the things that they did based on internet opinions. So for example, they went on the internet and they found what's the best diet to consume, what are the best routines and what are the best habits, and they sort of implemented those instead of actually understanding what their bodies and brains needed in order to perform at a maximum capacity, which is sort of like what we're going to walk through today. So one of the first things that we did to analyze what are the main things that drive their performance individually, what are the things that will allow them to, when they speak to prospects, close at a higher percentage apart from sales skills, what are the things that affect their mental performance? So we need data to be able to do that. And the first things that we did was, so we tested their gut microbiome and their digestion. We tracked their sleep quality. We tracked their focus and performance at work to see how distracted or focused they were while working. We tracked their hormone levels like testosterone and their blood work. That way we were able to get into the root cause of their performance levels and see what exactly are the key needle movers that will allow them to operate at a maximum capacity. So we tracked the data to see the KPIs that we needed to focus on in order to maximize their performance. But some of the other things that we found that also affected their performance was things like their dopamine levels and how distracted they were while working as a result of dopamine management and the way that they allowed dopamine to dictate their focus at work. For example, we have Elijah here, which sent us this message here, which said, the past 2 weeks I've been feeling very unmotivated to sit down in front of my computer and work. So he was doing everything else apart from working, just to avoid the work, just to make it easy for himself and to avoid sitting down. He had huge amounts of resistance to it. And also, Matthew told us here that he was really stressed out, really hard to fall asleep even when I hit bed on time, and I am trying to wind down better. And that was affecting their performance, their focus, that was affecting how they spoke to leads on the phone, and how they felt, thought, and acted. Once with the data here and with the problems that we discovered, that allows us to discover their peak focus hours. The hours that allowed them to perform at their peak with the most mentally demanding tasks at specific hours based on their performance and based on the metrics that we tracked, based on their sleep quality, based on their distraction or focus levels, and mainly the routines and habits that allowed them to perform at a higher level. That allowed us to tailor a routine that allows for peak performance based on sleep data, recovery, and stress levels. So we tracked their recovery and stress levels and saw what are the things that allow them to recover best so that they wake up more energized and more focused to perform better at work and sign more deals. And then also through the data, that allows us to personalize a diet and supplementation protocol based on their hormone levels, nutrient deficiencies, and gut health. So for them specifically, we tailored a diet that allowed them to digest the food perfectly and have high amounts of mental clarity and focus while working, so that they're not eating their meals and they're crashing afterwards and feeling bloated, but instead they're having consistent energy levels and consistent focus and motivation to work. And again, we had a pretty close feedback loop because not only we had the data to track daily, but also we had their feedback. For example, here we can see the Matthew's stress levels have been out of whack for the past couple of days, which allowed us to pinpoint the exact things because we also had the data that he did, and then we reverse engineered how we can optimize their routine or habits for maximum performance. Then, using all of this data and all of this feedback, we actually created a protocol for them in terms of what they should do and not do every single day, what they should eat and not eat, their supplementation protocols, their exercise protocols, and we created a specific tailored protocol for each one individually. And through this protocol, that allowed us to track their health metrics, like for example, their physique, their body weight, their exercise compliance to keep them accountable, to see exactly how their exercise is affecting their recovery and how much they're exerting themselves in the gym. Those variables heavily affect mental performance, by the way. We track their habits and work focus, for example, their distractions and how focused they were and where they were spending their times when working. We kept them accountable every single week with calls to address what are the biggest needle movers, as well as what's their feedback moving so far with their recovery, stress levels, energy levels, and what are the things that we should focus on moving forward for next week to further optimize performance, productivity, and make more money as a result of this. And then the other thing that we did, which was super, super powerful, is that we kept them accountable based on their KPIs that we tracked every single day. And that allows us to, for example, here, we can see that every time that there is a metric that is out of KPI, we keep them accountable and they understand, I need to just get better about the simple consistency, no excuses. Thanks for the accountability. So this variable here, the tracking of the data from every single source that we can, sleep quality, habits, routines, focus levels, exercise performance, hormone levels, gut health, those are all of the possible variables outside of sales skills that contribute to how you feel, think, and perform. And for them, that was a huge differentiating factor to what they were already doing in order to allow them to maximize their performance to 0.1%. And what happened after we implemented all of this, after we tailored their protocols and we tracked continuously the data of how it affected their lives and performance, as well as what they personally told us on the calls, when we had the calls and when we actually analyzed and did a deep dive every time on all the protocols that we have been implementing, as well as their performance at work and how it affected their performance at work, that allows us to continuously refine this, continuously optimize all of the different variables, which then allowed us to achieve those results here. First of all, you remember that I showed here Elijah's struggle with dopamine and how he felt unmotivated to work and do the hard stuff that he needed to do? Well, once we actually dialed in his dopamine management, this is what he said. It was like a shot of focus went into me and I feel so clear-headed right now. No distractions, getting work done and my mind is only on one task at a time. This is huge. I will implement it if I'm tired or have a lack of focus in my days. That was a huge win for him. Or for example, those are simple examples that I found that I screenshotted across our entire 10 months of working together or so. You can see that the recovery and their energy levels. My joints felt like they didn't even go for a long run, but I was tired as if I went in a 5-mile run. The feeling was awesome. Also, felt like my focus and general alertness have improved the past few days. I think the improved sleep consistency has definitely played a part in it. I feel more task-centric, disciplined, and motivated to do my work. I'm grateful for you guys, seriously, and the program. I've been loving the results so far. Thank you. So you can see how their recovery, stress levels, dopamine levels have all been increasing, and he feels great about it. But the biggest win was when we actually scaled to 40 to 50K a month, which was an extra 420K in yearly revenue in just 90 days of optimizing their performance to the 0.1%. We can see that they said here, this is Matthew, my sleep and diet has seen much improvement in terms of consistency. The mindset shift I had, especially recently surrounding the efficacy of prioritizing health to grow the business, has been huge, and I'm holding myself accountable to my routine overall, which helps performance a bunch. And as a result of this, they went from 15 to 20K a month. And mind you, these two guys have invested a ton of money into mentorships, coaching, and business operational type of resources in order to know exactly what they need to do to scale. So they have the exact plan they need to have in place for the SOPs, for leading the team, for the daily actionables, for marketing, for ads, all those different things they had in place, but we just expedited the results as a result of maximizing the level of execution. And as a result of that, they went from 15 to 20K to 40 or 50, between 40 to 50K. And we can see here what Elijah and Matthew said, because those are live examples, the real example and they actually explained what this was and what were the results of the experience. So let's actually hear a snippet of what they said. I'm not going to play the whole interview. I'm not going to play the whole case study. You can see that if you go to Pure Focus Testimonials on YouTube and see Elijah's interview as well as Matthew's case study here. But let's actually go through some of the parts. How much was the agency making?
It was like maybe between 10 and 20K. I believe. Yeah, somewhere between then.
And what was the result after 3 months?
After 3 months, we were like over 40, almost close to 50. So yeah, effectively, like within that time span, redoubled our business.
So here's Elijah of him saying that he went from 10 to 20K to almost 50K in 90 days, right? And we have Matthew.
Hi, my name is Matthew Kim, and I want to fully endorse the Pure Focus program that Manas and Nick and all the coaches have. It's really made a tangible benefit for my business, and I didn't think that initially, but I can genuinely tell you from my experience, the boost in energy, the boost in focus, as well as just sticking to habits with sleep, diet, just as well as exercise. It just really has made a great return on investment for the business. Like at the beginning of the program, my sleep.
So you can see those two case studies if you go to the YouTube channel. I'm not going to waste any more time here walking through them. But this is what exploiting neuroscience is, because essentially all those things, like for example, the time, let's hear an example. The time of the day that you actually exercise, every single part in the neuroscientific literature, every study, shows how important exercising right before you have to use your brain for the most significant part of the day, in the most mentally draining task of the day is. And for example, if you're a closer, your most mentally draining and most significant task of the day is to do your calls, your sales calls. So you can exploit neuroscience in a way by modifying all those different variables of your routine that heavily affect your mental performance to close at a higher level, have more energy, wake up feeling more sharp, be consistently motivated to do the hard and boring work, and perform like a productivity machine. And all of those things, the cool thing about this is that you can have hard data. Instead of believing whatever you believe online about the perfect diet, the perfect routine, what to do before bed to get good sleep, what supplements to take, and what to do, what specific foods to eat, whether you do keto or paleo, you need to get and gather hard data on your body and your brain and see exactly what you should do, not do, consume, not consume, what you should take and not take, and exactly how you should structure your day to work based on your body's data. And through that, you're going to be able to measurably optimize each one of those variables if you're interested in achieving peak levels of performance. If you're just interested in just getting a bit better, this is not for you. But if you're really looking to optimize your performance to 0.01% levels, then this is where it's at. So I can walk you through step by step how this protocol can be implemented for your own sales team or yourself if you want. I've actually filmed a step-by-step video walking through how the protocol works, as well as how you can copy it for yourself. If you want to watch it, here's the video on the screen. So click it, watch it, and I'll see you there. Take care.